I think it was 2011, my friend Nigel Rabb talked to me about photographing a route that he had followed previously in this marathon walk across Los Angeles. Nigel charted a route from his home in Westchester to the San Bernardino Metro link, a route that attempted to cross as many boundaries, social, economic, cultural, political, geographic as possible, while avoiding what might be considered the cliches of Los Angeles. And so that route ended up being 72 and a half miles, hence the title. So Nigel asked me if I wanted to photograph the route. And at first, I wasn't so sure it was a good idea. So I went out with some trepidation, made a few pictures. I thought maybe, if Nigel published something that, he could use my photographs as illustrations or something like that. But after one or two times out there with the camera following his route, I became totally addicted to photographing his line across the basin. So Nigel's walk, he spent 4 days on the walk, 2 successive 2-day weekends. I spent 2.5 years photographing that same route. So I made pictures between 2011 and 2014. And unlike Nigel, I worked in a much more piecemeal and haphazard manner. I would, decide I was going to the desert. Maybe I'll stop at mile 46 on the way and see what's going on or something like that. So it wasn't a kind of logical process at all. And the way I kept track of the project was I dedicated a very large hardback sketchbook to it, and noted, I think I gave four pages per mile in the book. And then as I processed film and made work prints, I would paste those prints into the book. And that became like the stamp album of the project. So when I was ready to work again on it, I would look at my album and see, what stamps are missing. In other words, so I would say, I don't have anything miles 36 to 39, so that's where I'll go tomorrow morning or something like that. So,
is it related to other work you've been doing?
I think that's one of the reasons that I got attracted to doing it so easily and quickly. Nigel's invitation came around the same time. I was trying to figure out ways to photograph in the city, having lived here, I guess, more or less 10 years by then. And one of the things I was doing, I was making groups of pictures that were based on Ed Ruscha's little photo books from the 1960s. So Nigel's walk gave me another kind of map or template in which to kind of investigate the city in a way that was in some sense depersonalized, because it wasn't my idea to walk on, say, Gage Avenue. It was Nigel's. It wasn't my idea to photograph a certain apartment building on Normandy. It was Ruscha's, et cetera. So I really liked those kind of constraints that took the project somewhat out of my own subjectivity.
It's interesting that there's no people in the photos. Can you tell me about that?
There's actually a few. It's not like there's none, but there are very few, and a lot of people have seen the work in whole or part, have commented on that. That is not a strategy on my part. That's the reality of Los Angeles. Nobody walks, almost nobody. Nigel certainly walked. I did a lot of walking on the project, and I did see occasional people, but I didn't. My idea of how I made these pictures finally was, when I began, I tried to come up with various conceptual strategies, like I'm only going to photograph intersections, or I'm only going to photograph looking east, and so on. Somehow none of that was satisfactory, and I ended up just photographing things that caught my eye. So the photographs are they follow two interrelated conceits. One, the photograph shows the route itself. In other words, it's sort of looking down the prospect of the road or the sidewalk, and the other are sights that I saw along the way that. And I have no way of knowing if Nigel had noticed those things or not. I didn't know. I knew what street he was on, but not what side of the sidewalk or what side of the street. And I should make note here that I never read Nigel's manuscript before I made these pictures, because the one thing I did not want to do was illustrate a text. So the pedestrian thing was I didn't go out looking for them. When I encountered them, I tried to use them within the picture intelligently, and occasionally I was satisfied, not too often. There's one picture in that in both the one exhibition I had to work and the forthcoming book that's what we call the juice guys, and that's a picture of three guys with a roadside stand making this amazing juice with chilies and oranges and other mysterious ingredients. And that was the one time where I asked permission to photograph people. I actually said, whatever it is you're selling, I'll buy it if you let me photograph you. The question of the people or lack of people also brings up the whole question of editing. I ended up with several hundred pictures. As I just mentioned, I did have an exhibition of the work at the LeBand Art Gallery at Loyola Marymount University. That was 2014. They had a lot of wall space. I think I exhibited roughly 70 photographs in there. And maybe 2 years ago, Michael Mack became interested in publishing my work as a book, and so that's the most recent manifestation of the Walk Across Los Angeles project is a not yet printed Mac book, and in that case, I counted there's 97 photographs in the book, the book to be. When I started, one of the things that I was really keen on was to have at least one successful photograph per mile. So there was some sort of conceptual strategy at work in the background anyway. Some of those miles really taxed my ability to make something interesting out of, anonymous condos and shopping malls. But a lot of other miles were like really, really fascinating visually. So when I put the book together, I divided it into 6 sections of 12 miles each, with the last section having the additional dangling 0.5. But within those 6 sections, each one of them has a different number of photographs, depending on, if you will, the catch, how many good ones or how many pictures I've liked that fit that particular 12-mile section. So they range from, I think, 12 to 24 pictures per 12 miles. So that might be the point to mention that I was scheduled to print this book in northern Italy in late March of this year. And for obvious reasons, that got canceled. And that book, along with many other books by many other people, is of course currently on hold. Hopefully, if and when the world gets back to normal, the book will be printed and you guys will get to see it.
That's great. Thank you very much, Mark.
My pleasure.